The Ukrainian soldiers can't know this. Why are they going to continue fighting? This should have happened after the war came to a close. Oh my goodness. It's on full display. Ukrainian corruption raids, not good news for Western Europe. As you've probably seen, there has been a major corruption scandal that has plagued Ukraine over the past few weeks. It even involved one man who is referred to as Zelensky's money wallet. I don't know why they say money wallet. Zelensky's wallet is probably a better way of putting it. They say that Zelensky's wallet was embroiled in this whole scheme of $100 million in kickbacks from Ukrainian energy firms, and he had to flee to Israel. Now, the man who was involved in this was a close associate of Zelensky. He operated all of Zelensky's finances. He's known Zelensky and worked with Zelensky long before he was a politician, when he was operating media companies and an actor himself. But what was so interesting about this is that the organization in Ukraine that actually went after Zelensky's wallet was an organization called NABU, which was not explicitly created by the United States, but is in effect controlled by the United States, and in particular the FBI. So what we are seeing play out is the FBI is utilizing their resources, and when I say the FBI, it's the Trump administration, Trump himself. They're utilizing their resources in Ukraine to pressure Zelensky and his administration to accept the peace deal. That's what they're trying to do here. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I know for a fact that this is just the most surface level of corruption that is actually ongoing in Ukraine. The U.S. alone sent hundreds of billions of dollars to this country. We know for a fact that probably around 70% of the supposed arms and humanitarian support that was supposed to be reaching the front line and frontline cities was not actually reaching those areas. I can only imagine how much corruption actually took place and how many billions of dollars were stolen from the bank accounts of hardworking Americans, or from the U.S. taxpayer base, to be more specific. Now, this corruption scandal involving Zelensky's wallet didn't end there. There were several high-level ministers that were forced into resignation as a result of this. The energy minister resigned, and this is all something that Zelensky tried to block. This organization, the anti-corruption group NABU, that is controlled by the U.S., is a group that Zelensky tried to hinder the power of a few months ago. He saw that this was coming. He understood that the U.S. was going to take this course of action, and he tried to limit the size, scope, and power of NABU before shit hit the fan. Clearly, he didn't act quickly enough, and the situation has now reached a fever pitch. Because, as we have learned today, Zelensky's chief of staff, he had his house raided by NABU anti-corruption services today. Zelensky's top aide and key peace negotiator resigns after anti-corruption raid of his home. Now, a few years ago, if you said that Ukraine was a very corrupt country, you would be banned, demonetized, deplatformed on social media platforms. Now it is an undeniable fact once again. So let's read here from CNN. Let's see how they try to spin it. One of Ukraine's most influential political operators and a close aide of Zelensky has resigned hours after anti-corruption agencies raided his home. A major crisis as Kiev faces new pressure from the U.S. to accept a peace deal to end the war with Russia. Officially, the chief of staff, Mr. Andriy Yermak, has often been seen as Ukraine's second most powerful man. He has been leading the Ukrainian delegation during recent talks in Geneva with Washington. Yermak's resignation, which was announced by Zelensky on Friday, complicates Kiev's position in ongoing into crucial peace negotiations with the United States. Now, take a look at this. A few hours before his resignation was announced, but as these raids were ongoing, Mr. Andriy Yermak, the chief of staff and key policy man behind Zelensky, most trusted advisor, stated that Ukraine is effectively withdrawing from negotiations since, according to the Constitution, no one can sign away territory. So please understand, these things are connected. The peace deal was given to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians were very worrisome about this. The man leading the worries was Andriy Yermak, Zelensky's chief of staff. He was pressuring Zelensky not to agree to the deal. Zelensky was being wishy-washy. Then within a few hours, 24, 48 hours, we had the NABU agencies who raided the home of Andriy Yermak over corruption, as if everyone in Ukraine is not corrupt. All the government officials, all the business officials, so on and so forth. But this is what happened. Now, on the day in which he was being raided by NABU, he said, effectively, we're not going to engage in these negotiations. Our constitution says we can't cede any territory to the Russians, so we're not going to do it. We're not going to even discuss the idea of this U.S. peace proposal, which will require us to give up Donetsk and Lugansk and parts of Zaporozhye and the Kherson region as well. You'd have to be insane to believe that there is a low chance that this will not lead to Zelensky fleeing from Ukraine in the immediate future. Right now, I'd say there's a 50-50 chance that this is what it leads to. And this is what everyone knows needs to happen. The Russians have been quite clear about this at every single turn of the negotiations, that Zelensky can no longer remain the president of Ukraine because he is not the president of Ukraine. Per Article 103 of the Ukrainian Constitution, you have a 5-year term limit, which expired for Zelensky in May of 2024. There's no stipulation whatsoever in the Ukrainian Constitution that in a wartime period, you can overstay that 5-year term. It does say that polling, effectively elections, cannot be held under martial law in Ukraine per the Constitution. But in the event that a president is forced with the, task of overstaying his term, the opportunity of overstaying his term, he does still have to relieve his duties. And the next man in line would be the Speaker of the Ukrainian Parliament or the Verkhovna Rada. Zelensky didn't do that. He's now illegitimate, in effect, as per the Ukrainian Constitution, not according to me, not according to Putin, not according to Tucker Carlson, but according to the Ukrainian Constitution. And you now see the writing on the wall. The United States has effectively uprooted Zelensky's money man, who dealt with all his finances, and he has fled to Israel. Today, we saw the man who's behind the refusal to negotiate with the U.S., Andriy Yermak, the chief of staff of Zelensky's presidency, his office, and also the main policy man behind Zelensky, who had his house raided on several arrest warrants. And who knows what's going to happen to him? Maybe, maybe not. He'll be the next to flee. Maybe he'll be in a Ukrainian prison. I don't know. Several key ministers have already resigned amid this scandal. And where does that leave Zelensky? It leaves Zelensky with no trustworthy allies, no people around him who are going to ostensibly force him to refuse these negotiations in a meaningful way, in the way that Mr. Yermak could have done and did try to do. And it leaves him with presumably no one who could effectively manage his finances and his corruption grift in the way that Midchuk, I believe his name, was doing before he fled to Israel, as he was facing corruption charges. Where does that leave Zelensky? He's got no policy. He's got no money. I mean, he has both technically, but the infrastructure has been deleted over the span of 1 week. In my eyes, this is Zelensky's time to step down. And oh yeah, by the way, he's hated by the people there. So don't expect him to stay too long in Kiev or anywhere else in Ukraine if he does step down. Maybe he can go to Warsaw. Actually, probably not. I don't think that the Poles are all that fond of him right now. He'll probably go to, I don't know, Brussels maybe. I don't know. Maybe Brussels is worse than hell at this point. Well, that's the nature of the situation. It's pretty incredible. Even CNN isn't hiding it at this point. CNN came out and said, Ukraine Zelensky faces hideous choice between bad deal and no deal. Actually, he doesn't face that choice because the quote-unquote bad deal actually is not on the table. Putin said it would be illegal for the Russians to sign on to this deal, as per the Ukrainian Constitution and even the Russian Constitution, insofar as the territories that are legally part of Russia, they're constitutionally enshrined as part of the Russian Federation. In this deal, Zelensky wasn't even presented with the offer of, I guess, giving up, ceding the Kharkov region to Russia, which is day by day becoming further and further under Russian control. And since this peace deal was I guess, proposed to Zelensky. The Russians have taken about another 100 square kilometers in the Zaporozhye region, and they are moving under Putin's guidance with lightning speed to the city of Dnipro and to Zaporozhye as well. So really, he doesn't even get this option, okay? Now I want to keep going through this. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, he came out and said this: the corrupt government surrounding the expired Kiev clown has crumbled. He may still be sitting in his office, spewing from his mouth or from his nose, but he won't be the one who signs the peace treaty. The buffoon is illegitimate. The collapse of the system is inevitable. I fully agree with that sentiment. You know who doesn't agree with that? The EU. They are coming out, and if you can believe it, saying, wow, well, this is so unfortunate. United States, this is so unfortunate. In my head, that's how they talk, right? In my head, that's how they talk. These people are so ridiculous. The EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, that's not even a real name. Kaja Kallas, what is that? Has condemned the corruption in Ukraine after the investigators uncovered that a close associate of Vladimir Zelensky was involved in a 100 million kickback scheme. The EU had hoped it would be uncovered before the war ends, would not be uncovered before the war ends. So the EU is literally coming out and they're saying, yes, we know that, we know that, we know that Zelensky is corrupt. We understand this, but we just hoped that all of you peasants would find out after the war ends. We all know that they're taking your money, but the peasants can't know this. The Ukrainian soldiers can't know this. Why are they going to continue fighting? This should have happened after the war came to a close. Oh my goodness. It's on full display. Ukrainian corruption raids, not good news for Western Europe, according to Warsaw. Well, I don't know how the Polish like to be governed, but in America, we prefer that corruption actually is shown to the public in full sunlight, full transparency. We want to see it, especially when it's our taxpayer dollars that are being stolen each and every day. I don't know if the Polish are okay with the idea of like covering up corruption and just like sending their money to this endless money pit of a proxy suicide mission of a war that we are witnessing right now. But I happen to be of the belief that actually exposing the corruption and forcing the Ukrainians to sign a peace deal is a good thing. Now, Mr. Viktor Orban, President Viktor Orban, was in Moscow today. The Prime Minister has likened Brussels' policy to that of a gambler with bad cards. The Americans and the Russians are negotiating about the future while the Brussels officials are waiting in the hallway, peeking through a keyhole. Europe is still plotting war while everyone else is negotiating for peace. The ambassador to Belgium, Dennis Gonchar, today said that NATO and EU are preparing for a big war with Russia. This is also some news that we have. European nations are beginning to consider joint retaliatory attacks against Russia. Options range from offensive cyber operations and faster, more coordinated attribution of Russian hybrid attacks by quickly blaming Moscow to surprise NATO-led military. Okay, I mean, really, it doesn't matter. You have these like European media outlets that are just, we're gonna do a cyber attack on Putin's Sochi office, and then the whole Russian system's gonna come collapsing down. And then Lavrov's gonna get upset, and he's gonna say, okay, it's fine, we're gonna give up the territory. Like, what is going on in their heads? I'm serious. They're trying to do these like tests on the deployment of their troops in France and Germany, and they're failing. They can't even do the test properly. The deployment of like armored personnel carriers and tanks. They can't do anything right. Their military is smaller. They don't have tanks. The Air Force is comparable, I guess, across the entirety of the EU. No industry anymore. Where are they going to get their energy? Yeah, maybe this is the EU. Yeah, maybe we don't have like as many tanks, but we can build them. We're the EU. We have Germany. Mr. Mertz, where do you expect to source all of that excess energy that you will need for all of that increase in military industry surplus if you do, in fact, decide to start a conflict against Russia? Please don't say we're going to rebuild the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipeline. I have to say, please don't say that because they're so stupid they might just say it. So that's that. One's in the chat if you think Zelensky's going to be out in the near future. Two's in the chat if you think that he's sticking around to the bitter end. What do you think? What do you think? Let me know. Ones or twos. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.